Did you know the human body is one of the most fascinating and complex systems ever studied by science? It's not just about muscles and bones, it's a living, breathing machine filled with bizarre, unbelievable, and sometimes downright hilarious facts that most people have never even heard of. So, today, let's take a deep, non-stop dive into 7 quick and absolutely mind-blowing curiosities about your own body that'll leave you saying, wait, that's real. Okay, imagine this. You're stuck at home with no electricity, no stove, and for some reason, you really need to heat up a kettle of coffee, but all you have is your voice. What if I told you that? In theory, it's possible. If you screamed loud enough and long enough, you could actually heat that kettle using only the sound energy from your voice. But here's the kicker: it would take you exactly 8 years, 7 months, and 6 days of non-stop screaming to generate enough energy to boil that water. That's right, almost a decade of pure shouting just to make a cup of coffee. Kind of makes you appreciate your kitchen appliances a little more, doesn't it? But let's move on, because number 2 is all about power, specifically the power of your heart. Did you know that the pressure from your heartbeat is so strong that it could squirt blood up to 9 meters high if a major artery were opened? That's about the height of a typical street lamp. Think about that for a second. Your heart isn't just keeping you alive. It's working so hard that it could literally shoot blood into the sky like a fountain. Now, speaking of heartbeats and daily activity, let's talk about something a bit lighter. Laughter. Everyone loves to laugh, but adults only do it around 15 times a day on average. That may seem like a decent number until you hear this. Kids laugh roughly 400 times a day. That's right, children laugh more than 25 times more than adults. And honestly, it makes sense. Kids find joy in the simplest things: baubles, cartoons, funny faces while we're stressing over emails and grocery lists. It's a pretty clear reminder that we should all probably find more reasons to laugh each day. Now, for number 4, which might surprise you. Babies are born with about 300 bones in their tiny little body, but by the time we become adults, that number drops to just 206. What happens to those missing bones? They don't vanish, they fuse together over time to form stronger, more durable structures. For example, several bones in the skull and spine combine as we grow to provide better support and protection. So technically, we start life with more parts than we end up with, which is a strange thought when you really think about it. Moving on to number 5. Have you ever gotten the hiccups at the worst possible moment? Maybe during a presentation or a quiet movie theater? Hiccups are caused by sudden spasms of the diaphragm, and they typically last only about a second each. In a minute, you could hiccup anywhere from 5 to 25 times, depending on how irritated your diaphragm is. But that's the truly jaw-dropping part. The longest recorded case of hiccups lasted an unbelievable 57 years. Imagine waking up every single day for over half a century and knowing that at any moment another hiccup could hit. That's endurance on a whole new level. Now, let's talk brains and memory. Number 6 is one that'll hit home for students and anyone trying to learn something new. When we learn something for the first time, our brain starts the clock on a sort of mental countdown. If we don't review or reinforce that information, we forget about 25% of it within just 6 hours. And it gets worse. By the 24-hour mark, we've lost about 33% of it. And after 6 months, if we haven't revisited what we learned, we can forget nearly 90% of it. That's like reading a whole book and only remembering the first 2 chapters a few months later. So next time you study or pick up a new skill, remember to come back to it regularly, or your brain will quietly let it slip away. Finally, let's get microscopic with number 7, because while we often think of our body as one complete human entity, we're actually more bacteria than human cells. No joke. For every 1 human cell in your body, there are about 10 bacterial cells. These tiny microorganisms live all over us, in our skin, in our mouths, and especially in our digestive systems. And collectively, they weigh about 2 kilograms, or around 4.4 pounds. That's like carrying around a small sack of flour made entirely of bacteria. But don't panic, most of these microbes are good for us. They help digest food, produce vitamins, and even protect us from harmful invaders. In a way, we're more like soup. But the wonders of the body don't stop there. For example, did you know that your stomach gets a new lining every few days to protect itself from its own acid? Or that your bones are 5 times stronger than steel of the same density? What about the fact that the surface area of your lungs is roughly the size of a tennis court? Or that the human brain generates enough electricity to power a small light bulb? Or that your blood travels a total of 19,000 kilometers every single day through your circulatory system, that's nearly halfway around the planet? And here's another fun one. Your body contains about 37 trillion cells, each performing thousands of operations every second. Your skin, it regenerates roughly every 27 days. Your liver, it can grow back even if a large portion is removed. Your nose, it can detect over 1 trillion different scents. And despite all of this complexity, your body does most of it automatically without you having to think about a thing. So The human body is weird, wild, and absolutely incredible, and we've only scratched the surface. Whether it's the way our hearts pump, the bones that fuse, the bacteria that help us survive, or the laughter we share as children, every part of us has a story. And the more we learn about ourselves, the more we realize how little we truly understand. So the next time you look in the mirror, remember there's a lot more going on beneath the surface than meets the eye.